Bitcoin is on its fifth daily green candle in a row. It is looking super bullish. And in this episode, you're going to find out exactly what is going to happen next. And guess what? We are going to know by the end of today. That is how relevant this video is right now. So if you're watching this, you're going to get all of the most important information on the news that moves the markets. And the charts are saying that today will indicate what could happen for the rest of, not only the rest of this week, but the rest of this month, and kind of like where we're at in the cycle. So just like other episodes, I'm going to let you know right away what the answers are, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the episode explaining why, which is the most important part. So make sure you tune in to the end. And also, I'm going to show you some charts that nobody is talking about, and they are going to give you some of the best evidence about what's to come so you can have the ultimate conviction in your investments. And we're going to break it down piece by piece and why I think Valentine's Day, February 14th, is still an important day. Will it be a celebratory, rejoiceful day, or will it be a bloody Valentine? We're going to find out in today's episode, so stay tuned. My name is Megan Nilsson, aka Crypto Megan, coming to you from sunny southern Marbella, Spain, actually late at night here on a Friday as I'm recording. It is 11 p.m. at night, so this is the midnight special for you guys. I am dedicated to bringing you that relevant news, so if you like that, tell me in the comments, tell me where you're tuning in from, and let's celebrate this momentous occasion together. So before I switch to showing you the charts, I'm going to give you those exact metrics that you're dying to know. But make sure you stay tuned to the end because I'm telling you, there are things that nobody is talking about. There's some really cool charts to help us kind of map out where this cycle is going to head, not only by tomorrow or next week, but also throughout this coming year and the following year. So basically, Bitcoin did something we expected but didn't expect at the same time. It had a massive pump. We were expecting some kind of pump, but it just broke through some of the main levels of resistance. At the time of recording, it has already broken above $48K. $48,000 is now ranging back below a little bit. I do think we could be range bound for the weekend, but here are the price targets to watch for at today's close to dictate what could possibly happen in the coming weeks. So just keep one thing in mind. If Bitcoin were to get rejected, right here would be the spot. So if you are a bear or you are of the camp that you believe that this is the place where Bitcoin is going to get rejected, it would be the time to do it based on all the charts, all the fib levels, and all the levels of conflict. Bitcoin would have to close today above $46,520. It is currently well above $1,000 above that price, so it's looking right now like that could be possible. In order for it to be looking bullish and to have even another leg up, all the way up to $55,000 is where this move is showing it could hit based on the very low levels of volatility. Now, this is the 5-day volatility read. We're going to hear from Krown, one of my favorite TA analysts in the game, about why this is so and different metrics. But that metric has typically done a measured move when it ticks up, when volatility picks up from very low levels on the 5-day read. It typically has a 40% move in either which way. Now, if Bitcoin were to do that from the level that it started at, which is around $40,000, that would put us at $55,000, and down the opposite direction would put us near $30,000, so $32,000 around that area. And at the moment, the stochastic momentum oscillator is pointed down, which has been very accurate in the past in showing which way the move will go, but that'll all change based on today's close. On the other hand, if Bitcoin closes below $45,500 today, that would be a very good indication that this could be a trap or a place where Bitcoin gets rejected, and we will see lower levels from here. Now, it's not just today. We would have to see a few closures above $46,500 in order to be sure, because the CME chart shows that the level to close above in order for Bitcoin to remain bullish is $48,500, and we would know that within the next 4 to 5 days. So long story short, today's close is crucial, but especially the next 4 to 5 days, and we could be headed on up to 55,000 and beyond. And I'm going to show you some charts from past cycles to show you exactly what has happened when Bitcoin has pumped like this and where it has ended up, which may surprise you. So now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Have a look at these daily candles on Bitcoin. I mean, we've got 5 daily candles in a row, an outlier in and of itself. I mean, there are a lot of things going on that show that this is outlier territory. So there's a lot to examine in this chart, especially the fact that we've been just basically up and to the right since October, when I started these 200-day to Bitcoin halving countdown videos. And it's been pretty bullish. We are in a bull market. There is no doubt about it. And I want to make one thing clear. Although I've been calling for a correction on this channel, I've been expecting a correction because every time we get so far overextended above the 200-week and 200-day moving average, we usually correct back down into it. But that does not mean I think you should be a bear. The opposite. Another thing you'll note, if you've been on this channel since the beginning, and if you have, let me know in the comments. I want to know who my OGs are, because you guys are what keep me pushing in this 200-day to Bitcoin daily videos. In fact, I just got back from the gym and it is 11 p.m. at night, and I'm on here trying to give you guys the best information to help you succeed, because things are time sensitive and I enjoy doing it. So Bitcoin is in outlier territory, and back to the bear versus bull. It does never pay to be bearish in a bull market. You will get burned 100% of the time. In fact, I know some people who are actually selling when things look a little bit shady and planning on buying back in when it eventually goes down. They're just waiting for that epic pullback and just selling when it's low and buying when it's high. And I'm telling you, most people get burned because of this, and I am here to guide you through it so that you don't, because I don't want you to be that person. And in fact, what I've kept continually saying is, when Bitcoin's pumping, I don't buy Bitcoin, but I continue to average into the altcoins. And when and if it corrects, like I think that it should, based on charts and based on how overextended it is from these moving averages, I'll double down on my buying strategy. So we have here, Justin, Bitcoin to 48,000. I remember when I was screaming at some people in my closest network, hey guys, $17,000 Bitcoin, you've got to buy now. If I would have told them that not too long, just months later, Bitcoin would be at $48,000, they would have thought I was crazy. But that is how these markets are. Bitcoin suddenly takes off and it waits for no one. And now we've confirmed that BlackRock is in. We can no longer front run BlackRock, but what we can do is at least get prepared for what we know is coming. So let me show you a few things. I'm going to start off with some news articles and a really funny thing about Obama. I'm sure you've seen it because the whole internet is talking about how Obama unknowingly did the best ad for Bitcoin ever. We're going to have a look at a few news articles as well as that video, that short clip of Obama talking about what could be considered Bitcoin. And then we're going to get into charts that probably I don't think anybody is talking about. I haven't seen anybody talking about these charts, and they give us a lot of clues as to what's going to happen. And of course, hear from my favorite TA guy in the game, Eric Krown from Krown's Crypto Cave. And so let's keep going. So Justin, BlackRock says Bitcoin creates global internet value that allows assets to move at low cost and in near real time across borders. I mean, it's monumental because BlackRock's saying it, but it's pretty ironic that that's what we've been screaming in this space for years and years and years. And now we're getting the validation, what Brock Pierce on my last interview, and go check out that interview if you hadn't, because it's really interesting. He is the co-founder of Tether. He said that, now we're getting the blessing of the authority. So, we can no longer front run these people, but we can play some chess and we can make some smart moves because all eyes are on Bitcoin, but nobody's talking about certain altcoins. So that's where I want to head on this channel, but I want to make sure you have it crystal clear how the cycle could play out based on all the information we have, so you can have a better strategy, play better chess. So now BlackRock and Fidelity now hold 151,950 Bitcoin worth over $7.16 billion in their spot Bitcoin ETFs. And all the memes start pouring in, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty incredible times. And this is a really interesting chart. US spot Bitcoin ETFs only represent a small part of spot trading volumes, which is interesting because people are under the impression that all of this buying and selling pressure is coming from the ETFs. But that is not the case. It says here, US-based ETFs currently represent only 10 to 15% of the total Bitcoin spot trading volume across global centralized exchanges and only 3% of outstanding Bitcoin supply, or around 650,000 Bitcoin. So there's a lot of trading going on outside of the Bitcoin ETFs. That's why I'm saying if you're somebody who's selling on these dips, you're selling to BlackRock. Just know that. There's a lot going on here. Emotions are starting to peak. People are starting to get very excited, and hype is coming in, news is coming out. And, even though I'm a little wary here, I know better than to be a bear in a bull. So interesting stuff going on. Now, Barack Obama's video that is lighting the internet on fire, at least the crypto webs. Barack Obama's insightful remark on Bitcoin. So here's a little article about it, which I really like because I felt like it actually did a great job at explaining to normal people, we're not normal. I guess we're not. That what Bitcoin is. So Barack Obama's statement on Bitcoin. Obama's analogy underscores the revolutionary nature of Bitcoin as a decentralized cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, akin to a Swiss bank account, offers privacy, security, and control over one's assets, empowering individuals with an unprecedented level of financial autonomy, the likes of which we have never seen in history. With Bitcoin, everyone can transact globally without the need for intermediaries or central authorities, reflecting the freedom traditionally associated with Swiss banking secrecy. Only it's much better because actually there isn't any secrecy at all. It's so transparent, and that's why it is brilliant, because it's not meant to be secret. It's just meant for you to be able to have control and autonomy and sovereignty over your own finances and money. So here it says, President Obama says Bitcoin is everyone walking around with a Swiss bank in their pocket. However, while Bitcoin shares similarities with Swiss bank account, it also diverges in significant ways. Unlike traditional banking systems that rely on trust in central institutions, Bitcoin operates on a trustless blockchain technology. This means transactions are verified and recorded by a decentralized network of nodes, eliminating the need for a third-party trust and reducing the risk of censorship or manipulation. I could not have said this better myself. I mean, this is a brilliant article. I'm going to link it in the description so you can send it to all your family and friends so they understand simply what's the difference, because they'll see people like Obama and authorities talking about these things and others who are anti-crypto, and they're going to get the wrong idea. So this is actually a really interesting article for you to share. And we have some memes here. Obama ads for Bitcoin. Former U.S. President Barack Obama calls Bitcoin an impenetrable financial system with no backdoors that the government cannot control. So effing bullish. So let's actually have a listen to what he says. It's just a 39-second clip so you guys know what's happening here. Incredible new Bitcoin ahead from President Barack Obama. This guy gets it. All right, let's check this out.
The question we now have to ask is if technologically it is possible to make an impenetrable device or system where the encryption is so strong that there's no key, there's no door at all, what mechanisms do we have available to even do simple things like tax enforcement? Because if in fact you can't crack that at all, government can't get in, then everybody's walking around with a Swiss bank account in their pocket.
Wow.
The question we now...
It's insane. It's funny. It's awesome. I mean, it's just awesome to see a guy like Barack Obama sitting there talking about it. And he's absolutely right in one way. But, the transparency is still there. It's just there's no control. And one thing that Tim Draper does mention in the podcast I did with him is that he didn't anticipate how hard they would claw tooth and nail to protect their power over people and the currency and the dollar. And that he claims or he believes has set Bitcoin's price back and the development back, has stifled innovation a bit, a lot. At least in the US. And so it's really interesting to see a public figure come out and speak like this, which, inadvertently is the best ad for Bitcoin ever. And then here we have former Obama aide targeted by anti-Bitcoin political ad for accepting crypto donations. A former Obama advisor and Democratic congressional candidate has come under attack from his rival for accepting Bitcoin donations to his election campaign. Democratic congressional candidate Brian Ford has been targeted by anti-crypto political advertising for Bitcoin donations to his campaign. Ford's rival, Dave Min, who is also running for Democratic nomination for the upcoming congressional elections in California, circulated an ad suggesting that Ford's donors are Bitcoin speculators that oppose the cracking down on drug deals and human trafficking. I mean, it's getting so old. Drug deals and human trafficking and Silk Road, the dark web, it's all just a bunch of bull, you know what. It's just a bunch of crap. I mean, it's just like people clinging on to narratives so that they can have some kind of something to say about it. I mean, it's just the only thing that people say is that it's used for illicit activity. I mean, don't get me started on JP Morgan. I mean, I've got a whole video to do on JP Morgan and what they did with their customers and how they're trying to silence their customers from speaking out about their bad behavior, how people's money has gone missing. This is very recent news, and they have no idea what happened to it. I mean, the banks are losing control, and there will be a bank run of all bank runs. And I say this in every episode, you want to have your Bitcoin before that happens, because it's always unbelievable and inconceivable until it happens. So let's be prepared for once. Let's do things first. Let's just set it and forget it. That's my rant to you guys today. I'm all hyped up because I just went to the gym, so I got a lot of energy. These comments about my supporters are sensationalist, wildly inaccurate, and in line with my opponent's lack of understanding of the technology. Thank you. Lack of understanding, or just, willingly ignorant. If they were speculating, they wouldn't have donated to my campaign in Bitcoin. They didn't hodl. They donated to my campaign in Bitcoin because they believe in the technology. So he's actually clapping back and saying, hey, if they were actually speculating, they would never have donated Bitcoin. They would have just held it because it would have been better. I mean, that shows his actual true belief in Bitcoin as well. I love this. I think that's great. And I think we need to see more of this. People just stepping out against these kind of things. Cool. So back to what I was saying before, I'm just going to play some clips now from Eric Krown illustrating with charts and statistics so you guys can see it better what I said in the beginning of the video. All the levels I spoke about, the potentially bloody Valentine's Day, I'll go over those charts later, but I want you to hear from Krown about the stats because he actually lays them out quite nicely. And then I'm going to go on to show you some really crazy charts that no one's talking about. So stay tuned.
As of right now, the 5-day time frame, if I can explain it, is presenting a pretty significant setup here, and it's not fully mature just yet. But as things twist and turn around, you have to, or at least I have to respect the sides, because that just becomes significantly more statistically likely to lead towards major moves. We're talking about like 40% moves on average. But anyways, when we see volatility this low on the 5-day time frame, represented by the BBWP indicator, the expansion phase that naturally follows after that has led to an average move of 40%. If I can bring these stats over here, about 40% over the course of just over a month, again, on average. And the direction of the stochastic also has had a very high correlation to the direction of price action, upon expansion. So as of right now, the 5-day stochastic oscillator is presented to the downside, which is why I have been, just generally more bearish, because we have seen this work out out of all of the downside signals, which there's been 10 in Bitcoin's history, 8 of those, did fall through to downside. So, kind of respect that's pretty high hit rate. But as you'll notice, the 5-day pivot here is 45,550. So running it back to what we were speaking about earlier, if you're going to be bearish as well, there's a very obvious signal that you'd be expecting today as well. You'd be expecting Bitcoin to come back down and close below 45,500 by end of day, thus confirming a rejection of the daily bands and the 5-day bands, and we'd start to see this become relevant over here as he met. So what does that essentially mean? That essentially means that if you are going to be bullish on Bitcoin from here, you'd probably be expecting, you'd definitely be expecting Bitcoin to close above 45,550 today. And then you'd want to see on the next 5-day for CME, Bitcoin actually close above 48,500, which again is not closing today. It's closing in 4.5 days, basically. So, it'd be one thing before the next, but that'd be basically suggest that Bitcoin continues onwards from here, like immediately. So I thought that was rather interesting, just because, I think that would kind of put a lot of this time schedules ahead of what, at least of what I was looking at before, because I was looking at most of the first half of February to be pretty damn boring, and I mean, we're almost at the end of the first half of February, to be fair, and it has been mostly boring except for like the last couple of days. But fair enough. Things may potentially moving a little bit faster. So all good. Anyways, on top of that, and to actually strengthen the upside case, we can go over here to the daily the daily Gaussian channel. And we can actually see that Bitcoin has broken above the top side of the Gaussian channel for the first time in a very long time. The last time we saw something like this happen was back on over here in October of 2023. So that was, preceding this whole rally from $28,000 to, nearly $40,000 before a real stop. The time before that was over here. Again, nice little interim rally. Didn't really produce all that much, to be fair, but you could also argue that this was red, so it wasn't as powerful as a signal. Over here, again, pretty impressive continuation from the break of the top side to the next high, 33% move. Same thing over here, very large move, and so on and so forth. So that would also be that would certainly be in favor of supporting the upside as well. So, I'm starting to see more and more things here that do support the upside. And of course, as a trader and as I don't want to say the word analyst because I don't consider myself an analyst, even though that's what I do on YouTube, I guess. But just to me, analysis is like kind of worthless. Trading is where you actually make your money. But in this case, as far as as far as analysis goes, it's like you have to be respectful of that and have to be able to change around if that is going to change around. And looking at the 5-day pivot over here, if Bitcoin reclaims that, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to be bearish. It's going to be hard for me to be bearish and realistically have to be I mean, at least for myself, I'd have to be respectful of this setup right here. And again, I don't think I went over this probably well enough, but in terms of average move from this setup on the 5-day, we expect on average like 40% with a standard deviation of 7. So we're talking on like the lower end, like a low 30% move. We're talking on the upper end, like close to a 50% move. I mean, these are big fucking moves. So, putting that in context, 40% from the low, that puts Bitcoin at $54,000, and 40% from the high puts Bitcoin down around $32,000. So that's why I do say it's kind of the point of maximum financial opportunity.
Okay, so I hope that set the tone. We will know by today's close. We'll have just one more clue as to what is going to happen. But as Eric Krown says, the actual CME charts need a few more days for their closure, and their actual tick is 48,000 and change. So we're right there. We're right in between there, and we're going to be in a couple of like tense days here, gearing up for what could be next. Is it 55,000 or is it 30,000? Let's continue. So first up, I want to talk about gaps in trading, because you might see this a lot, like gap traders and people who are waiting for Bitcoin to fill the gap. I just want to do a quick explanation of that. Inefficient market gap theory. So this is somebody who's explaining exactly what this is. It's a theory based on empirical evidence, so take it for what it is, but let's get started. So this is all kind of like a bunch of indicators we can group together to come up with our chess playing thesis. In classic legacy markets, a gap is created by the open of a daily candle that is higher or lower than the previous close, leaving a hole in the chart. This is due to the fact that you usually close for trading at the end of the day or over the weekend. After this break, circumstances and market sentiment have often changed enough that trading will resume at a totally different price level than before. So this is really applying to traditional markets, stock markets, and CME, things that don't trade 24/7. Is what it's mostly applying to, but it's basically saying that when they open like that, they leave a gap to be filled, and that more often than not, the price will go and fill that gap, sometimes pretty quickly, but other times it could take months or even years. So I'm going to show you one with Ethereum about filling that gap, and here's the inefficient gap here down below. And as you can see, this is the 3-day on Coinbase. It eventually does come down to go ahead and test that gap. So that's one of the theories about what Bitcoin is doing right now. So this is Bitcoin. I'm going to make this a little bigger. This chart is actually from CBC, Crypto Bitcoin Chris, Crypto Revolution. I love that group, and I think he's a brilliant trader, and he has a lot of cool charts and theories, his group. So this is the inefficiency gap here, and it's being argued that Bitcoin filled the gap over here to counter the gap that was left there. So like liquidity gaps as well. And next up, we're going to zoom in a little bit. This is the Bitcoin 2-hour chart with all of the different fib levels. At the time of recording, we're already blasted through this $46,784 level, and that was the 0.786 fib, and we are actually we've also tapped through, I should say, the 0.886 level right around here, just below $48,000. I mean, it was one hell of a move, guys. It was a crazy day. That was a crazy move. I was expecting a pump, but I was thinking it would stop somewhere around 44 or 45 based on the charts. It just kept going. That's the thing about Bitcoin. It'll do the thing that people least expect. And it's not that usual that Bitcoin is pumping this hard before the halving. Usually we start to see this move after the halving. But I mean, as I was speaking about in a lot of previous videos in the months before, the altcoins are already farther ahead. Things seem to be moving more quickly in this cycle. So it's very interesting to see. And next up, we have the Bitcoin 4-hour chart. And as you can see here, when we hit this level previously, we did get rejected and we came back down to the bottom of the range. Is that what could be happening here? The point of control here is in the middle, around $42,600. And the top point of this whole range is right around here at 47,100. But as you can see here, we had a wick well above up into the area that we're starting to get into now. So will this be one of those times where we wick up there and we hit that spot and then we come back down to the bottom of the range? And if so, probably would go even a little bit lower. That is a possibility, and that is what we are looking at now. And again, based on what Eric Krown said in my stats from the beginning, if we close and hold above $46,500, and especially above $48,000, we are off to the races. We are having another leg up, no doubt. And from there, we'll reassess. But that's what we're looking at this weekend. We're looking to see, does Bitcoin hold these levels, or are we going to have that pullback now? And what you're probably wondering, well, what should I do then? I will answer that question. Just let me show you a few more charts. So here we're zooming out now, all right? I like to zoom out when in doubt. The Bitcoin 1 week log scale. So we have a few data points from other pieces of the cycle here. I know you can't see this one, I'm sorry. But this one down here, it just says 2016 hit the 0.786 and pulled back to the point of control. So we have that data point, right? And it's showing like at what point in the cycle it did it, which is in this second part, this part I call phase 2. So then we have the next cycle, and it also hit the 0.786 and pulled back to the point of control, actually quite further below it because it was the pandemic event. And now we're at the same exact spot. 2024 hit the 0.786 and pulled back to the point of control so far. So we hit that point, the 786, and now you've seen we touched this point of control. What's going to happen next? Because in all of these other instances, we haven't continued to cruise up so quickly. See, if you see here, we hit the 0.786 and we cruised down for quite a while before we went back up. Same thing here with the pandemic event. And now we've got this massive green candle seemingly headed right back up toward it. So it's similar, but different. And, usually we tend to trend sideways until the halving, sideways or down until after the halving. Will it be the case that we actually do something different this cycle and we push past the point of control, open the bull market doors and start marching on toward all-time highs before the halving? It's possible. But not likely based on statistics. Again, we'll see what happens at the closing today and within the next 4 to 5 days. This is another interesting chart, kind of like inverted about what happened in 2022 versus now in 2024. It's the inversion of that. And so this is when we were in the bear market and we went down out of this kind of like rising wedge, and now it's forming something looking like a bull flag. And so we have been touching these points on these trend lines up until now, and right now it seemed that we have actually breached this trend line and gone above it, and we could possibly be coming down to retest it and blast off from here. So the opposite of what has happened on this side. And it says here, watch for a reaction to the upper trend line, and we just busted right through it. And this is the upper trend line now. We busted right through that. And it's been quite an eventful day. Now we're going to zoom out even more to the Bitcoin 1 month chart. If Bitcoin follows the 4-year market cycle, here's what we could speculate. Let's call it speculate, or I don't want to say what we can predict, but what we can imagine or hypothesize could happen based on previous statistics. So back here, we have 13 bars in the bear market, 396 days before we resumed the uptrend, which was then 1,065 days, and then another 396 days in the downtrend versus 1,065 days in uptrend. And now we've had 396 days, 13 bars, exactly right on par with the other cycles. And now we're right in the middle of this green box. And it's showing here we have 22 bars left, or 669 days left of this bull market. It's crazy when you lay it out like this. I mean, it's actually truly lining up to look like it is so. And so if that were true, then December 2025 would be right around the top. Actually, on this chart, it shows that that's right around when the double top was. But it would be right around the ultimate top for Bitcoin. And then into 2026, the bear market for the next 396 days. What we've been speaking about on this channel, 2026, there's going to be blood in the streets, and you better be ready to scoop up those lightning deals. And then it shows here that then we will resume the very beginning, if we continue on this track, of the 4-year cycle and the uptrend again in January 2027, the very, very beginning etchings of the bull run. So that's like pretty cool that we can lay it out like this. And if that's the case, if Bitcoin's going to reach its peak based on this chart at the end of December 2025, then the altcoins based on last cycle peaked around 4 to 6 months afterward. So that's more or less the timeline up until now. And then here we have the fib-based retracement, but on like a time scale. And this is what I'm really interested in. Here it shows the 0.618 1-day fib retracement. It hit this before and we came down, we got rejected. And now it's showing that the next point of control is on Sunday, February 11th. And so big intersection there, right around the Valentine's Day mark that I've been speaking about. And the question is, what will happen once it reaches that cross point? Will it have a massive pump like it could if it sustains above these levels for the next 4 to 5 days especially? Or will we see that massive correction? Time will tell, but we are right here. We are right here in the middle of it. And the momentum oscillator doesn't lie. Volatility at all-time lows like this is bound to tick up, and a big move is bound to happen. Just which way will it be? And finally, with one last bit of information on our precious altcoins. When will the altcoins have their day in the sun? Well, if you haven't been paying attention, and I realized this when I looked at one of my clients' portfolios that we've been buying up Link in the bear market around $5. And I saw that yes, I have a female client who is investing in crypto and we are working together, and her portfolio was up like 220%. And I'm like, wow, like the altcoins have had their day in the sun. It's just they're so far down from all-time highs that people don't really notice that. But altcoins have been moving. And so this is the Bitcoin dominance, all the levels to watch. This is the point of control in the mid-range. And when we will see fireworks is when this happens. So this part of the Bitcoin dominance is, this was in 2021. Okay, like this is when we saw the epic altcoin season. Alts exploded for 138 days in a row in 2021. And that is what we want to see. We're currently here. Will we make it all the way up into this range? Time will tell. But one of these moves is going to mean that your bags are mooning. So just be patient. Stick to your plan. Don't sell when you get scared. Not financial advice, but I just don't want you to get stuck like the herd. Don't sell based off fear. Just stick to your guns, keep a level head, accumulate if you can, and let's just be patient and crush this market because we can. And this could be a life-changing year for you if you just stay focused, stay engaged, go to the gym, get some discipline, and keep watching this channel. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. It's been an honor to be on this journey. And I'll see you tomorrow.